With so much content out there, how do you filter through all the noise and cut straight to the value? What has become very apparent is that the best way to learn is to surround yourself with those you aspire to be. But you can't just watch what they do. At some point you have to turn it into an action. Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. On this podcast, you will go on a journey as we speak to people who are making the difference in their industries, and people who, if you listen to closely and take action, can turn you into who you want to be. My name is Mark Sclair, and this is the Building a Successful Career podcast. Hi everyone, this is the Mark Sclair podcast. I hope everyone's doing well today. Today I have on the show somebody who is part of a business, who's leading the business as a CEO, who is making huge disturbances within the Asian market with regards to prop tech. Now, those are some big buzzwords at the moment. Prop tech is a big thing. And also as well, he's doing some stuff in regards to stepping up from a salesperson. He'll tell us about his journey to taking on this CEO role. And I think that's such a good thing to learn from, because we don't all just want to be salespeople. We want to be able to lead people as well. And I'm going to bring Brennan in now, and he's going to give a bit of background about himself. So hello, Brennan.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
How are you?
Good, mate.
Cool. So I've kind of hyped you up quite a bit there. So do you want to give us a little bit of background about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm not the biggest fan of chatting about myself, but again, happy to kind of share my experiences and kind of my journey, because I suppose my journey is a little bit untraditional in the sense of, my evolution to becoming the CEO of Fazwa, where I am now. So really, my journey starts from really having no idea from what, knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. So for me, it was with that in mind, even from picking a university, right? I didn't really have a plan, didn't really know where I wanted to go. So it was kind of this kind of general indecisiveness that had kind of led me into Thailand, and really led me to studying a business degree, getting into sales, and just knowing that these are kind of business and sales is just kind of this general kind of industry where I can go and get into different verticals or different industry and apply the knowledge that I have. So it was kind of this general indecisiveness that led me to Thailand. I'm from Canada originally, and it was about 2008, right after the GFC, that I was selling. It was a door-to-door kind of HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning sales job that I had. So that, after getting a university degree wasn't really, something that I could go to my friends and say, hey guys, I'm selling HVAC door-to-door, super exciting stuff.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, this isn't what, I made good money. It was, I was happy for the opportunity, but this wasn't going to be the future of what I wanted to do. So that kind of led to me coming to Thailand. So I came to Thailand in 2008, 2009. I came by myself, didn't know anybody in Thailand, never been to Thailand before, I'd never been to Asia before. And I came here as a school teacher. So I came here and did a TEFL course, so a certification course in order to teach English here in Thailand. And from that point, I became a school teacher, taught for about a year here in Thailand, and just fell in love with the country, and decided that I didn't want to leave, and I've been here ever since.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think, I forgot actually used to be a teacher. I think that really actually, like what we're going to speak about today, that really actually helps. So no, brilliant story. Thank you for the intro. I appreciate it. And I think a lot of people can relate in regards to going to university and not really knowing kind of what they wanted to do. And even when they left, they still don't really know. So yeah, I'm sure that touched on a lot of people there, definitely. So thank you for that. So you're in Thailand, and you said you got this sales experience, and you've been doing this since university in regards to selling. What is it? Because I know from experience that you're very good at what you do. So in regards to selling, so do you wanna, I'm hyping you up again. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is that kind of gives you those skills to be a good salesperson?
Yeah, for sure. So just kind of continuing on from that story. So I got into real estate just by chance, really,
Okay.
in that,
Okay.
you know, school teaching didn't really pay the bills. You know, I'm not a teacher by trade. And, you know, even getting a TEFL course doesn't make you a teacher.
No.
So,
No.
you know, I wasn't the best person to be educating the youth of Thailand. I realized that relatively quickly. So I did by chance just get into a job in real estate through a mutual friend. And I started off doing rentals for the business. And I did pretty good at rentals. Then I asked if I could start doing some sales, and I did okay at selling. And then it evolved into me kind of running and managing an office. So through that experience, that led to the opportunity with, you know, the business that I have now with Fazwaz, which I think we're going to get to in a moment. Yeah. But really, it was that experience, kind of working my way up the ranks, and, you know, starting on the listing side, and you know, doing the rentals, and then transitioning to the sales, where really I got a taste for working with people that were great salespeople and learning from them, but also just kind of going through that experience myself. And what I found is that really, when you look at what makes a good salesperson, right? And I think that's kind of what we're here to talk about today is in my experience, is that you've got good salespeople, you've got great salespeople, and then you've got that top 1%. Okay. And really, if you look at those kind of three people, that the good salespeople are there, it's a job for them. They come in, they do their job, they're good at sales, right? Yeah. Consistent, they're going to generate, they're going to bill. Your great salespeople have this level of, you know, being driven and want to accomplish more, right? They want to excel. They're competitive. They want to earn more money, and they've got the drive and the ability behind to do that. And then you've got kind of your top 1%, which is, you know, the guys and gals that have the killer instinct, right? Yeah. That they're out there, they're, you know, knocking down doors, doing whatever they need to do to get those sales closed. And that's the top 1%. So I think, you know, I don't think I was ever that top 1%. I would say I would probably put myself in that great category. And I think by being a great salesperson, you know, I think great salespeople have skills that, you know, aren't reflected in that 1%, that can kind of transition to other roles and have a greater impact in the business as well. So I think it was that kind of experience and that kind of understanding and working my way up the ranks that has kind of allowed me to understand my strengths and weaknesses, and transition into business.
And that's great. I think, like what you're saying there, to recognize your strengths and weaknesses is a massive thing. But also as well, I think if you put like these three salespeople together, good, great, and the 1%, definitely between the great and the 1%, you probably, unless you're really good at what you do, at actually understanding what they do, you couldn't really tell the difference. But it is that extra mile that they go. And it's not about working from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. You know, it's not always about that. It's about what you're doing on that day to make it happen. Having this hardcore shell where you won't take no for an answer. And if you do, it just means you move on to the next one. And those are such big parts for me.
Yeah, agreed. I think if you look at, again, the good, great, and the top 1%, that there's common kind of traits amongst salespeople in each one of those areas. Yeah. But I think it depends what you're selling as well. And an interesting story from our business is that actually one of our best sales agents, one of our top performing sales agents, I met, and he was my waiter at a restaurant. And he was serving me food. This was in Phuket 6-7 years ago. And I said to him, I'd eaten at the restaurant a couple of times, and I said to him, I was with my girlfriend, and said to him that, you know, you'd be great at sales, right? He was just smiling. He was pleasant. You know, he was attentive. And he was generally just kind of nice and likable. And when you look at a role such as servicing buyers and sellers in the real estate market, a holiday market in Phuket as a sales agent, you have to have that level of kind of like relatability and likableness, right? In order to really bond with your customers, to get past that initial barrier of getting to know each other, so that you can kind of dive deeper and get a greater understanding about what they actually want, their needs, and match it to the right property. So again, I think it's down to different industries, but you know, also it's by chance as well, and having the right opportunity come up.
Yeah, like my kind of story is that I always wanted to be a lawyer, and I thought I was going to be this professional lawyer, but the problem was I was no good at school, no good at grading, nothing like that. But then I got into sales. I kind of fell into it for a friend offering me a job, and I was kind of back and forth with it. But then I realised that it's both the service industry. So you're there to help people. So if you're a lawyer, you're trying to get somebody off a conviction or off a case, whatever. But if you're in the service industry, like real estate, for example, you're there to get them their best investment. You're there to get them their first home, like all of these things. As long as there's that base of caring for somebody, that's a great way to start off. And then you develop your skills after that.
Agreed. I think if you strip it all down, it's just people, right? It's people, it's relationships, it's communication. So if you generally kind of enjoy communicating and getting to know people and building relationships, then depending on the industry, of course, right, and what you're trying to sell in the sales cycle, then those things kind of come a bit more naturally. So I think you and I can relate to that in terms of just this kind of interest in getting to know people and being generally friendly and likable.
Right. So now let's get to know the business that you're at. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Fazwaz, please?
Yeah, sure. So Fazwaz is a marketplace platform for real estate agents, developers, and private sellers to sell properties. So generally, what we're trying to do is make real estate transactions smarter and more efficient. So the way that we do that is really by looking at the real estate transaction process, which is generally an online to offline process. And we look at each one of those stages in the process and look at what we can digitalize to make it more efficient. And in doing that, you can maintain parts of a transaction online and add more value to our customer base. So really, that's the business from kind of a 30,000 foot overview. But the thing that makes our business unique is that we're an end-to-end platform. So we're there during the first part of the general kind of search and discovery aspect. And we're also all the way there at the end through the entire transaction. So for us, it's being the entire vertical of real estate that allows us to really add more value to our buyers and sellers and the real estate agents that use our platform as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see, because I mentioned at the beginning, there's a disturbance you guys are making in the market. So I can tell by being involved in so much of the process that definitely can cause a few ripples.
Yeah, it's I mean, when you look at the prop tech space, as kind of you were saying, it's this big exciting industry. When you look at other verticals, other industries, you look at the impact that technology has had in those industries. And you look at how technology has, changed the role of a travel agent, or changed the transportation industry. When we look at real estate, we look at the role of a real estate agent. And for us, it's about using technology and tools to empower the market. And when we look at some of the markets that we service, they're very fragmented. So there's big challenges in coming in and trying to look at the transaction process and look at the pain points for all those stakeholders in the industry, and apply solutions to them. So it's a huge opportunity. It's a big challenge, but it's a huge opportunity as well.
And what would you say has been that biggest challenge, like from when you started it up? Like, what would you say? Because I live in Dubai and I came here 12 years ago, and I know from experience when I was in real estate, like it was so unregulated that it was like the Wild West. And I've had experience with Thailand and with property and working with Fazwaz, and I know that there's definitely some similarities there. So,
similarities. I think there's probably too many challenges to get into, and probably getting into too much detail. But I agree, it is kind of that lack of transparency, lack of information, and really just that everything is so disconnected, right? So what we're trying to do as a company is really be the glue in between all of the steps of the real estate transaction process. And by, making that process more connected and more transparent, then it's just a smoother, more efficient process. So yeah, I think every market that we're looking at and every market that we operate in at the moment has its own kind of set of unique circumstances and challenges. But the beautiful thing is that real estate transactions everywhere in the world are essentially the same process. So what we're doing here in a market like Thailand, which is one of our primary markets that we service, we can apply those solutions to other markets and localize them to address some of those inefficiencies.
Yeah, what I like what you're doing over there is it's very customer focused, and it's all about the customer experience and making sure they're being serviced the right way, whether that's digitalized and that's a good smooth process, or it's a hands-on approach with an agent. So I like the way you're dealing with both sides there.
Yeah, I appreciate that, because really what we are building is a platform for buyers and sellers, right? We are building a platform that is addressing the challenges that they have in the market, right? And that's not exclusive of real estate agents, but they're going to be able to use that platform as well, right? But the point is that if you build it for the end users, then of course we can empower agents along the way to be more efficient and effective at what they do, and really close the ecosystem and empower all of the stakeholders, as I said. Nice.
All right, cool. I hope everyone can kind of see from what the level you're talking at, that you're definitely more than just a salesperson. And I think you stepping up to a role which you're now in, this is something which I'm trying to teach within the training that I do, that I don't want people just to be salespeople. I want them to have skills that when they step up, they can then lead people and not just be reliant on an industry that might fall because of what's going on in current situations. So you've stepped up from being a salesperson, and there's been management along that way as well, but now you've taken on this CEO role. And do you want to tell us like the differences between that and how that's been for you?
Yeah, that's there's huge differences, right? So yeah, just to kind of go back to the story, is that the natural evolution from starting off doing listings to rentals to sales to managing a team to growing an office to setting up our own business to expanding our sales force and multi-regional and different geographies around the world. It's just been this the skill set that you need from day one to the day-to-day focus that I have now. It's totally different. But in saying that it's really allowed me to relate with everybody in our business, right? We have a team here that help source and look at new listings that are being added to our system and verify the information. And I've done that myself firsthand, right? So I can relate to the challenges and the pain points that they have. And then our agents, our rentals team, all the way to supporting in terms of our managers and how they better manage their team of real estate agents. So it is that kind of full circle experience that it's really allowed me to relate with everybody in our business in terms of their day-to-day efforts and how they're contributing to the business. But also it has held me back a little bit as well, in that the most difficult challenge was really transitioning from that person in the business that kind of had his fingers in a bunch of pies to now being the guy that is responsible for the general vision and the overall strategy of running a business from a CEO standpoint.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because I had this experience when I had not a CEO role, but I had an internal promotion within the business. And all of a sudden, like these people that were your colleagues, and now you're leading them. And it's quite hard because they might have been people you're quite friendly with. And then there's that challenge as well, because all of a sudden you're giving them direction and telling them what to do pretty much. And that can definitely upset the apple cart as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, cool. So I always ask people to give us a couple of tips. So I want you to give us 3 tips, because you mentioned quite a few there anyway, but give us 3 tips in regard to what I like to look at mindset as well. It's not just about skills, like what sort of mindset you also need as well from taking on that sales role or being a salesperson to then stepping up
Yeah.
management and CEO?
Yeah. Yeah, 3 tips. So I think to kind of finish my last thought is that the kind of challenges in transitioning from a sales role into the CEO role was that, particularly where we were as a business, is that we're just kind of that startup, becoming a much more structured business. So in all startups, you've got to wear a lot of hats. Yeah. So I think we kind of touched on that point already about wearing a lot of hats. But then number 2 is that the business is constantly changing. So it's very difficult to really, when the strategy is constantly changing, and you're having to pivot and you're having to communicate with teams and departments about, what happened yesterday, and the direction that you gave yesterday is now different to today. Yeah. So that's a challenging aspect in terms of, leading a business where you have to change, right? And you have to be willing to, admit and acknowledge your mistakes, and then move into that other position. So really, I think when it comes to the advice in terms of the tips that I have from, going into a more management position is whatever role you're in or whatever position you're looking at, is to really just kind of take a step back first and look at the area of your business, whatever that may be, from kind of a 30,000 foot overview, right? So looking at your area and looking at the other areas of your business that your business impacts, and really looking at its total impact to the business. So let me explain. For me, that was putting together a pitch deck for FazWaz, right? As the CEO for FazWaz, we're going out, we're raising money. And really just this experience of having to really look at your business in its entirety, from every single aspect and every slide that you're building out, is you're telling a story. In order to tell that story, you've got to put in the research, you've got to look at the numbers, you've got to speak to different people. And it's that experience that just allows you to really develop a better understanding of, for me in this case, was develop a real understanding about the business and about the technology that we're building out and who that's going to impact, and our business model and how we monetize, and looking at the financials. So it's that experience. And, maybe if you're not the CEO of the company, you can still look at your area of the business and make sure that you understand it. And like, when I say understand it, I mean really understand it, right? And understand how that's going to impact other areas of the business. And even put together, call it a deck, call it whatever you want to call it, but put together, a presentation that really shows your area of the business from 30,000 feet above, looking down. And then that kind of allows me to kind of bounce on to tip number 2 and number 3 is that by taking the time, and energy and effort to do that. And for me to put together a deck, it took me, over a month of working on it full time to get it really to the spot that, we could take it and speak to investors. But the next step down from that is, with this deck now, you have a full overview of your business, in my case, or your area that you're managing. And with that information, you can sit down your team and you can say, hey guys, this is where we're going, right? This is the business. This is how it works. This is how our department interacts with other departments. And from that, you can slowly start working your way down, right? 30,000 feet to 20,000 feet with your managers, and talking to your managers and saying, hey guys, right? Here's the 20, now that we all understand the 30,000 foot overview, at 20,000 feet, this is what I need you guys to do. Do you understand your role and your impact that you have in the business? And they can take it out to their team and go down to 10,000 feet. So it's this process of putting, taking the time and really building an in-depth knowledge of what it is that, what it is that your team or your department or you're specifically responsible for in the business, and communicating that and executing it with your managers, and creating that, that kind of waterfall approach of communication and accountability and oversight and management, And that just trickles down, right? It trickles down from you, it trickles down to your management team, it trickles down to your, your sales team on the ground. So I know that wasn't as clean and neat as three tips, but
Nice.
I think that for me was, one of the most important things. And one of the things I'm actually most proud of in terms of what I've done in the business. Now we've got to go out and raise the money, right? Different, we've got to complete it. But, it was that experience that really connected a lot of the dots for me.
Yes, I think what's really interesting there is that from all of that, you could probably say that it was something that you probably weren't ready for, and you learned on the job. You stepped up and you learned on the job. Is that fair to say? Yeah.
Massively.
Brilliant. Yeah. So that just takes
the
you back
challenge
to
that I had was that I was just saying, up until recently, it was very hard to transition out of a management role into the CEO role, because I wasn't doing the role of a CEO for the past, X amount of time. Is that it took too long to really kind of move out of that previous position and actually become the CEO of FazWaz, right? In terms of looking at a full oversight of the business, because it's easy to have a nice title as a CEO, but in order to do the job, right, there's a lot more to it than, from my experience selling some real estate, right? If we sell real estate and the business goes in the wrong direction, then ultimately I'm accountable for that. So it was that transition away from, building a sales team and looking at, the sales numbers only, to looking at the overall strategy and view of the business. Yeah,
heavy lies the crown, as they say.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, I think when you speak like that, I mean, this is something that I came across a few years ago when I stepped up and I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. It's that famous quote by Richard Branson. If you get offered a role when you don't feel you're ready for it, say yes and learn it along the way. And I think we all think that all of these managers, they know what they're doing and they know what they're talking about, but we're all just finding our way each day as well. And that is what it is. Yeah.
100%. And everybody has kind of a different route or a different journey to get to that kind of understanding and knowledge, right? But it is about just coming in and day out and just trying to look at your area of the business and taking pride, right, in what it is that you do and just learning every day, right? And that's one of the most enjoyable parts about where I am in our business now, is that, putting together a deck, raising money, the education process is just absolutely incredible, right? And it opens you up to this new network of people and knowledge that, you get from getting in at, a ground stage and getting your hands dirty and working your way up.
Yeah, nice. No, I think, and everything you say there as well, it really cements the fact that not all great salespeople make great leaders as well, because everything you've spoken about there is kind of actually caring for other people. And the biggest thing about a great salesperson is they've got to be quite selfish. Like it's them, they're going to make the deal happen, they're going to get out there, they're going to do it. And all of a sudden, these managers or these salespeople, they get promotions to be a manager, and all of a sudden they've got to care for people. And they're like, well, this isn't what I do. I don't care for others. I just get out there and make the sale. So, and I think you go from 30,000 feet, 20,000 feet, 10,000 feet. Salespeople don't speak like that, good management and upper level speak like that.
Agreed, 100%. And one's not necessarily better than another, right? Like management has a lot of kind of challenges as well, right? And sometimes, when things get tough, I do wish I was just back in Phuket selling luxury real estate, right? So, there's different challenges and opportunities at each level, but yeah, I agree. And I've tried to move some of our better salespeople into management roles in the past, and it hasn't worked out. So, and I've had people push back and say, Brennan, I don't want to do it, which is the best thing that you can have said, right? So it's different. It's different for every industry, different for every market, and then different for every individual as well.
Nice. I think that's great. So in regards to challenges, obviously there's a massive challenge going on with everyone at the moment in regards to this coronavirus and this pandemic. How are you guys adapting to what's gone on in the market?
Yeah, good question. So for us, we've taken this digital approach for quite a long time. So when COVID kind of started becoming more serious of an issue in February, we started to see, and then March and April, for us, our business model and where we were going, this was happening well before COVID, right? So for us, COVID has been a good thing. It slowed us down a little bit. It's allowed us to focus. It's allowed us to kind of re-strategize and make sure that we're heading in the right direction. But ultimately, I think the world in its entirety, and particularly the real estate industry, will be more open to new processes and changes, because what is a real estate transaction going to look like post-COVID, right? With social distancing, people are going to want less human contact. They're going to want more efficiency. So for us, we were looking at that pre-COVID, and really COVID has just kind of pushed the acceptance of that a little bit forward.
Well, it is great to hear positives, because I think this has allowed people to kind of step back, review what they're doing, time to actually go through a process, see if that works, and then make a change. And it's great to hear the positive, but kind of what would you say that biggest challenge has been, though, during that time?
The biggest challenge was more from an operation standpoint. It was not really understanding the impact, in terms of revenue on our business, and looking at people that have been a big part of this business and growing this business, and having to make some tough decisions in terms of shifting the business in terms of areas where we're seeing the most revenue being generated from it. So really the biggest challenge for us was really more from an operation standpoint, in that, nobody really projected, a global pandemic that would come and, just kind of knock everybody back 10 yards or so. So it was that impact and the more operational challenges that initially presented. But now, really during that period, it's allowed us to just really kind of buckle down and focus, our resources on building the technology pieces, so that coming out the other side of this, not only are we in existence as a company, where there's a lot of companies in the world that are more focused on making sure they can come out the other side, but we're going to come out the other side stronger with more technology pieces that will really position us to service customers better in the post-COVID real estate transaction environment.
Post-COVID, yeah. So let's go to post-COVID now. Yeah. What's next for Fazways? What other ripples and disturbances are you guys looking to make in the market?
Yeah, I think for us, it is just looking at really closing the real estate ecosystem in terms of the markets that we service. And in doing so, we're going to be able to provide, again, more value in terms of, general search and discovery to after our customers buy a property, to supporting with ongoing management, and really closing the ecosystem in terms of providing price valuations in a market where there is little transparency, and really some real technology pieces that are going to transform how people buy and sell properties in this market. And that's something that particularly the Thailand real estate market it's overdue for, right? When you look at the people servicing, the other competition servicing the market here in Thailand, it is generally just the search and discovery. So it's traffic and leads. And that's kind of where the innovation has ended. So for us, we are, poised and positioned as the company that is going to, there's a lot of negativity in the Thailand real estate market. And a couple of pieces that will be coming out next month, the month after, will provide that much needed transparency that will help people make smarter decisions, and really just some good news for the Thailand real estate market. So we're really excited about that.
I think, during these times, and I was in real estate, 12 years ago, I worked in it for 5 years. And it literally, the market crashed when I came to Dubai in 2008. And a lot of people had to leave and a lot of things went wrong. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it at all. But what happened was opportunity. And this is where the big investors come out. They've been waiting quite a few years for this to happen. You know, they don't want to be buying at the peak prices. They're waiting for people that need to sell, and they're coming out. So as brokers, someone's buying, someone's selling. You just got to match in the middle with the price there and get the deal over the line.
Yeah, exactly right. I think Airbnb was founded the global financial crisis 2008, 2009 as well. So I think, you know, as I said before, with great challenges comes great opportunities. So that's the way that we see it. And looking at this market, particularly some of the more holiday markets that we service here in Thailand, is that there are people getting into the real estate industry for the right or wrong reason, but it is for a quick buck, and they don't have kind of the long-term vision in terms of making the market a better place. So I think something like the COVID, the impact that COVID has, you know, kind of eliminated the people that are looking to make a quick buck versus the people that, you know, are here to stay and really add value to the market. So for us, it is an all-inclusive approach, and you know, our aim is to add value to everybody in the market. So working with real estate agents, developers, private sellers, really the tools that we're building will have a big impact on the market here.
And if somebody wants to check out the site to see the listings, what's the website name?
It's Fazwaz, good name, Fazwaz. If you're American, you might say Fazwaz, but it is Fazwaz. Yeah.
Fazwaz.com. And you hear me? Yeah, okay, cool. So great overview, great tips, really love it, absolutely brilliant. What I'd like to know as well is now, like, I know that myself, I listen to a lot of people, get inspired by a lot of people, motivated by a lot of people. Who do you listen to? Who are you motivated by? Would you recommend anything to anyone at the moment to listen to?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, I'm reading a couple of books, but it's more just about it's not even motivational stuff, right? It's just about really pushing the limits of what you think you're capable of doing, and really just, you know, I think you set a natural ceiling for yourself in terms of what you think you can do or that you can't do, and that ceiling is generally always lower than, you know, what you're capable of doing. A perfect example, right, is maybe going for a run or going for a swim. That if you say that you're going to do 10 laps in your pool in your head, then you're going to stop at 10 laps, right? So for me, it's just that understanding that you know, that you create your own ceiling, right? And really just making sure that you set that ceiling high. And even if you fall short of it, right, you fall short, but at least it was high enough that you know, you're going to accomplish great things.
So anyone you're listening to though that you recommend, or any books, or these books, like?
Not really.
Not really. To you. Just listen to this and listen to you.
I take a more generalist approach, and I'm just bouncing around on YouTube and a couple of books that get recommended to me, but yeah, nothing crazy. Do
you know what I think though? Like, the way you've answered that as well is more like everyone's all in this thing about learning at the moment, and I think it just sounds like you're just more into action.
Yeah, maybe that's true. I think, like, I'm being inspired by a lot of the people that I'm speaking to. Like, I'm speaking to VCs and entrepreneurs that have set up their own businesses and exited you know, businesses for hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'm taking you know, our pitch deck, and I'm speaking to these investors, and I'm just learning so much from them. That just that experience and talking to people who've done it, right? And when I look at my journey, I think that's why I put myself in the opportunity where I am now, because I'm always speaking to people who've done it, right? And who, you know, who's a step ahead of me in terms of you know, experience. So I think, yeah, I'm drawing a lot of inspiration from those people and learning a ton, as I said, by going through this experience.
Awesome. Okay, man. Well, Brennan, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. And
thank you, Mark.
I will see you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully as soon as you're able to travel, you need to come back to Thailand.
I'll be over there again soon. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks a lot. Take care. Cheers. Thanks for listening and watching, guys. I hope there were some real gems that you get inspired by and take action with. Within the description, I tried to mention everything that's been spoken about, but on a daily basis, I put out content to inspire and help others. To see more, please like, subscribe and follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast. Search by the name Mark Sclair. Thank you very much again and I hope you enjoy the journey.